Salutations, my fellow dudes and dudettes, and welcome back to The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening. Last time we met up with all the townsfolk in Mabe Village, got us some heart pieces, started a really long training sequence that will evolve as it will continue as we be able to explore this island a little more, but for now, let's head to the first dungeon of the game, Tail Cave. Alright, level 1, Tail Cave. We're going to start by heading to the left. I want to be careful with these enemies. You can't kill them with your sword. You have to knock them off the off into the pitfalls. You can either do this with sword swings or just constantly bumping them with your shield. Pretty simple stuff. Then we also have the key. Come in here. Watch out for these green slabs. They can actually appear out of nowhere. Can actually surprise attack you, so watch out. And we got our compass before our dungeon map for some odd reason. However, the compass has a very unique feature in this game, and it's really sad that this is the only game that does this. If you walk into a room that has a hidden key, you'll actually hear a little tone. Like so. So obviously we can tell that there is a small key in here. We press this little switch. We got a chest. And boom, key. So that's really cool. Again, I wish later games did this. I mean, I can understand. I suppose I can understand if 3D games don't do this, but I would have liked if the 2D games did it. Also, piece of power! Those are, skeletals. Or Stalfos, I'm not exactly sure what name they cater towards, but, basically, whenever you try to swing at them, they'll simply just jump backwards, just to avoid your attack. They're not much of a threat necessarily. I mean, if you make contact with them, you're obviously going to take damage, but otherwise, nah. This room is a little bit interesting. You have to make sure to match the symbol, so we had to match Clover. We get ourselves a chest. And we got the stone beak. Turn aside the spine ones with a shield. Whenever you spawn one of those owl statues in a dungeon, if you have the stone beak with you, it'll basically give you a hint as to what you need to do. We got little mini Muldorms here. Oh no. Anyways, they move a little. Their movement pattern is pretty erratic, so it's actually hard to take them out because you're not exactly sure when it'll be safe to attack them or not. Take out this guy, get another chest. I think you can potentially walk out of here with like at least a spare key or two if you know what you're doing. Because during my test playthrough, I ended up getting the main dungeon item before I got the main dungeon item before the map of all things. So that was pretty interesting. But I did this a little more traditionally because I didn't want to get the items so soon. And I intend to do this for every dungeon. Well, despite the fact that the dungeon item is actually a little bit harder to get to in later dungeons. I like to think these dungeons can be a bit shorter than the ones in Link to the Past, too. If there is a door that you can't open, move a square block, like this one. Obviously, you can't kill those fireball enemies. These are the spine ones the Stone Beak mentioned. So use your shield, you can turn them upside down, you can knock them out. Now what's funny is that there's a owl statue in here, and it tells you the same thing. So, I guess in case you forgot, And next we have Goombas. This is weird. I wonder why there are Goombas here. I should probably go over that real quick because you probably noticed when we were in Mabe Village, there was a chain chomping that was essentially the dog. I guess around the time like Super Mario Land, I think this game this game most definitely came out after Super Mario Land. I guess it wanted to make a homage to that game as well as all the other Mario games. Granted, they added a few more Mario-like enemies for this remake. Not much, but they did. With the Goombas, obviously, if you swing your sword, you take them out. However, if you do jump on them like you would in a traditional Mario game, or just land on their heads, you actually get a heart from them for every time. But speaking of jumping, because this is the first game to introduce that, with the Rock's Feather, Link can jump at will. Eat your heart out, Breath of the Wild. This game did it first. Unfortunately, I will admit, item management was a bit of an issue in the original. I'll get into that a little bit later when we actually have other dungeon items to work with. Actually, we'll do. I'll go over that once we get to the second dungeon, because it's the most appropriate to bring it up. But that is our boss key. Ironically enough, we got the boss key before we even got to the mini boss. But unlike Link to the Past, the boss key is actually strictly meant for the boss door. In Link to the Past, we got what was known as the big key, which opened up larger doors, which ultimately led to the boss, as well as open up the chest with the dungeon item. In this game, it's strictly for the boss. With this boss, he's going to be pushing this little spike log to the left and right, and all you have to do is jump over when he does this, and just get your slashes in. You can actually take him out rather quickly in one cycle if you're fast enough. Otherwise, he's nothing bad. Have our fairy bottle. And now we got a fairy. As I mentioned before, you can't revive fairy. You can't use fairies as a failsafe in case you bite it, because it still plays off of the original game, where if you do die, you still die. And fairy bottles are only used to actually just simply heal yourself, not revive you. Oh boy, here he is. Moldorm! We got our first boss. If you played Link to the Past, second verse, same as the first. Or, I guess this would be the third verse, anyways, every time you hit his tail, and that happened. Just like with Link to the Past, you fall down the hole, you end up in the basement area, and you have to restart the boss from the very beginning. Now, thankfully, you have an advantage over this boss that you didn't have in A Link to the Past. You can jump. You can actually jump over him when he's erratically moving all over the place. Now, keep in mind, you can't exactly just attack him willy-nilly, because whenever you attack him, his tail essentially creates a little shell around it. This doesn't apply to it during the last hit, but this is just a bit of a waiting game. Yeah, see, like right here, this would be the end all, be all hit, and there we go. Honestly, I don't find this boss as bad as it was in A Link to the Past, because you have the ability to jump, so take advantage of that. It'll save your life. And now we have the Full Moon Cello, our first instrument. Did I forget to mention that I love the remake, the music in this remake? It is beautiful. swamp. A path opens in the blooms. Interesting. Whenever you complete a dungeon, you get something like that. A vague hint as to where you need to go next. Oh boy, it's everyone's favorite character! He doesn't actually have a name. Hoot? That's an instrument of the sirens? I have to admit, at first I did not believe you were real. That instrument, along with the 7 others in the set, has the power to wake the windfish. You must collect them all, as I was instructed to give you directions. Your next goal is north at Gopanga Swamp. Hoot! Indeed. That's fascinating. Alright, so we have our next destination, set in stone. But I believe we're gonna save that for next time. So yeah, we completed our first dungeon. We got our first instrument, and we got a good feeling. We got a good feel for what our adventure entails. So next time on The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, we're gonna be heading back to Mabe Village and hopefully getting directions as to how exactly are we going to get to this swamp. We'll find out when the time comes. So until then, I got a juice.